everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Roy Canny.
I'm Mike Delisio.
And I am Camilla Cleghorn.
I've been done in by downward inflection.
I need to change my number one. Hold on.
I'm Z. Hi.
So, this is our top 5 experiences of the year. A couple things. Keep a note. This is the most people we've ever had do a top 10 list.
Boom!
Well, it's
The top five, to be fair,
Top
yes.
5.
Which is why it's a top 5.
Let me finish my sentence.
No.
Now you know it.
See?
I thought you would have learned from being cut off from your...
It's never a top 10, so it's not real.
All right, anyhow. Also, because we have this many people, we don't have that many mics. So we're using our studio mics. So,
We have one mic.
We have a mic.
Yes, but I am mic enough for the whole room, I think. Yes?
Oh, yeah.
we actually took
definitely.
Mike's chair is like
You
8
gotta
inches
take it
off the
down.
ground.
I'm suspended from the ceiling. You can't see the wires because we've got high tech.
All right. Well, anywho, we're just going over our best experiences of the year, gaming or otherwise. There wasn't really any kind of criteria on this. If you played a game with us, we say this every year, and it's not on the list, you were number 6.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, let's
number
go
11.
with that.
What were you going to say?
You were not memorable whatsoever. That's what I was going to say. But yes,
So much love.
you're number 6.
After I share my number 5, you're going to be grateful that you're not on my list.
You won't believe number 5.
Oh my goodness.
Number 3 will shock you.
Well, let's get started. We got a lot to go through.
All right, for my number 5. This one's pretty simple and overall it's kind of broad. I know a lot of times conventions get mentioned on these things a lot. And my first one, I was like, let's get the conventions out of the way, is the booth at Gen Con.
Oh, I think
We
you
had
should say all the conventions.
Not all the conventions.
All of them at
That's
once.
cheating. I just want to say specifically the Dice Tower booth at Gen Con. It's always awesome to have, like, you do this all year round, like create board game media and do all sorts of different stuff, and you don't get a whole lot of feedback. Like, you get some people in chat and stuff saying things, but like when people come up to you and specifically say, hey, I really like what you do, or I really like the Dice Tower for this and that, and all those different things, when they bring up different things that they see, it's really memorable. And so one of the best experiences for me this year has been at Gen Con, just so many people coming up and saying they enjoy the Dice Tower and having people stop by. I love the booth at Gen Con, and it was a blast. So that's my number 5 in experiences.
All right.
Yeah, I'll take that too. Anybody else?
You like that?
Yeah,
I'm here for the people.
It's also mine.
Is it really your number 5?
Is it really?
No!
Oh, okay.
Z couldn't think of
That
something else on
involves
his list.
people.
All right, then I'm in.
Okay, you can take it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Mike. I'm kidding.
Okay, my number 5 is Peanut Toffee Buzz Cliff Bar. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's my shopping list. Let's see. My number 5 is...
Wow.
What a dork.
This is your best birthday ever.
Speaking of birthday, Chris, actually, my number 5 is related to a birthday. However, it's mine. I had a momentous birthday this year. It was my 50th birthday, and it kind of happened around the time of the Summer Spectacular.
It did.
And so one of my best memories of this year was going out for a big kind of staff birthday dinner. We had some guests that had come for the Summer Spectacular, going to a wonderful restaurant and kind of hanging out with people. And it was just, to me, it was all this one big thing. The Summer Spectacular and my birthday and being able to kind of hang out with people again. You know, we had all been vaccinated at that point, and it just felt good. It was some kind of normalcy to a little bit, and just the camaraderie. This is a tight group that we have here, and so it meant a lot to me. And so a birthday that has some significance just by the age, right? You know,
The sheer weight
the
of
sheer
it.
weight of it, right? It counteracted all of the.
Cataracts, you said?
It counteracted
Oh.
the AARP stuff I was getting in the mail that was putting me in a very foul mood. So that's my number 5.
Well, at least we helped you there.
You did.
All right, my number 5 is, well, I guess they're all kind of sentimental, but this, I think I've mentioned a couple times that I've moved this year, and so I had to find a new playgroup, and so my number 5 is the first time that I played with the new playgroup here at the Dice Tower. That was just very, I had a playgroup back home, not back home where I moved from, but it's always scary when you move, right? And like, are you gonna find people? Are they gonna like your taste? That kind of stuff. And I have to say the first game night here was just awesome.
You found people
Who was
to
the
play with?
who was the playgroup?
Oh, okay.
Who was the playgroup? Well, you weren't there,
Oh,
so I
okay.
really enjoyed it.
I
I had a
understand
great
you're
time.
having such a good time.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good one.
because Wendy said I'm bringing a friend in, and I was like, oh, okay. Where's apples or whatever?
If it's not on your list, Tom, it meant nothing to you.
Yeah. Yes, it was good.
All right, enough with the sentimentality.
There we go.
My number 5 is playing Night of the Ninja at Gen Con
Oh, that was good.
with Justin Gary, who is the designer. The convention was kind of wrapping up at that point.
Yeah, we were almost.
We went downstairs.
done.
We were sort of sitting around the couches there, down at the bottom of the in the lobby of the hotel, and it was just a really relaxed group. We got to play Night of the Ninja, and it was a very fun experience, social deduction, in a really, I don't want to say low energy, but everybody was sort of like, yeah, I'll play this little thing. And then as we started playing it, it was like a really neat game, so we were into it. But there were people on the couches. Somebody was like sitting just on the floor around this table. I liked the casual nature of it. At a convention, that's a rare thing where it can feel really casual, and that felt like hanging out in somebody's, game room or something and playing a game. I really enjoyed that. So that's my number 5, Night of the Ninja at Gen Con, with the designer and some folks who helped us at the booth as well.
That was a good choice. That was fun.
Yeah, because I was also I remember that we were kind of like, man, we're done. We'll play a game, and it turned out really well.
Yeah.
All right. We're getting gamier as we go down the list here. Mine is just one of the best game experiences straight up, and that was Ra. We played that at the end of
Ra, you said?
Ra at the end of the Autumn Spectacular. So you've seen that one. That was just a really good game. Sometimes a game hits on all the buttons. You've seen many games that I brought to the table saying, this is a fantastic game, now watch it fizzle. Because it will not work properly in this setting, and that has happened many times.
Yeah. Sure.
And some of these guys have ruined my favorite games that way.
Yeah.
Mostly Mike.
Mostly Z, but
Yeah.
no. I'm not. That's a joke part, but it really does happen. Sometimes you're like, look at this.
Yeah.
That Ra game, I was like, man, I hope this works out well, and it really did.
I tried to
That was
ruin
how
it, and
Ra-
I couldn't. Nobody can take down the Knizia.
That's correct.
So anyway, Ra, my number 5.
That's awesome. Well, mine is a lot less game, but it happened this weekend, so it's current. So at least
That-
I'm almost
you're
okay.
winning then.
Hey,
So it's-
super current. So we had a couple of the people over. Z was teaching a few of us the others. And before the game, before they came over, I picked up some like fresh produce from a local farm, and it was one of those like grab bag boxes. You didn't know what you were gonna get. And so I thought I would juice the greens because I was not a fan of them. And Chris can attest to this. The juice was terrible. Like, I'm pretty sure it was like acid. Like, it burned. It was awful. And so Chris and I had convinced ourselves that we didn't have to drink it after like a certain point.
It was such a sacrifice on my part.
It was so hard. And then Z came over with a veggie tray, and I was like, sweet, no guilt, getting my veggies anyways. So also the others was tons of fun, and she whooped us.
It's all about the veggies.
It was second to the celery, but it was a great game.
Experience, veggie trays, best experience of the year.
Jinwei, Super Chat, said that one of their best experiences was just hanging out with the chat.
Yeah.
So the chat has been a lot of fun.
It's
The
been great.
interaction. I've really
Absolutely.
enjoyed that. Absolutely.
My number 5 was at the last Dice Tower retreat. There's a group of people who really wanted to play the Great Wall, and for some reason gravitated to me. It's like, hey, can you teach this to us? And I said, no, don't actually know it. Well, they sat there and they watched videos and they read through the rule book, and then like an hour and a half later came back up to me and said, hey, are you ready to play Great Wall with me? I thought, okay, I'll try it, right? 4 hours into it, it was a really great game. I was pleasantly surprised because, just that first play can always be a little bit clutchy, especially at a convention. It's not the best setting, I think, to learn a huge game like that and have 4 people who've never played it play it there. And I had a lot of fun. I was surprised how much fun it was. The next day, I saw the guy again playing the Great Wall. I said, wow, Mihir, you really like this game. He goes, yeah, we played it all wrong.
So you liked the game you played, even though it wasn't the Great Wall.
Whatever it was fantastic.
Nice.
That's happened to me more often than not.
Yeah.
Some games I won't go back to. I'm like, oh, we played it wrong?
Right.
Well, we did that earlier in one of our spectaculars. And I was like, I'll never play it right because I can't ruin that experience.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, my number 4 is actually playing a game with a couple of people at this table. This is playing cooperative
Not
games
it,
with
not it.
Chris and Mike.
Yeah.
So I played Unsettled and Ultry with Chris and Mike at my house, and I don't know, it's just a more casual experience. I really like playing like cooperative games with these guys because I feel like we work together really well when we play those games. It's like we're all like trying to figure out what we want to do, and just the teamwork seems really awesome. I mean, we constantly like every week are like working together to edit stuff, so we are used to working together on things all the time. So it's like it's very interesting to like play a game together and be able to like use those same skills to like make things happen. And it was just a really memorable experience for both those games because they're very story-driven games in some ways and have like funny, interesting stories. And it was just a really memorable experience, especially like having you guys over to my house and like playing stuff together was really fun. So. Playing cooperative games with Mike and Chris is my number 4. Sorry, Tom and Z and Camilla and Wendy. Get better teamwork.
If I don't make it to number 2, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, 4. 4.
Number
We're
4.
okay.
That's right, yeah.
Higher 3 or 2,
wasn't
or
expecting to be at
ideally
4.
1.
I'll tell you, our group of 3 is laser focused on the goal, so I'm with you.
Laser focused on the goal,
Don't
always.
get distracted. All right, my number 4.
Mike struggles to find his number 4.
Well, I just have to get past the shopping list. My number 4 is, and to some extent, I'm going to be giving some credit here to Chris because he has many times been the impetus for doing these things that I maybe wouldn't have done otherwise. So filming the intros to the Rapid Fire Roundup and the Let's Play It Live, both of those I had, a couple I'm like, we could do this, but then the collaboration, and actually this is all really the 3 of us, I think, kind of collaborated on those a lot. Again, Tom and Z could not have had less to do with this. I'm just kidding. This is a very collaborative atmosphere, but those things for specifically were fun. They were a lot of fun to do, but I needed the help. I mean, I would not have been able to do those on my own. I know that a lot of times people have been very kind about how much they enjoyed those. Well, it was very much a group effort, so those were a lot of fun to do. The problem is I don't know that I want to do them anymore because I feel like I have to live up to these things.
There's a lot of yelling and go out.
There's a lot, and I blew out my voice for the week. So anyway, that's my number 4.
Remember, Z, you've always got the veggie tray.
That's true. We'll always have the rutabagas.
That's good. I'm good with that.
Take that. All right, take it. All right, my number 4 is a play experience as well. This comes from the last retreat. I played on Sunday, so the very last day of the retreat, I played a game of Welcome to the Moon with 5 other people. So we had 6 people playing, and none of us had played it before, and it's not out. And we did not enjoy the game very much. I think like it was a very difficult learn. Like I love Welcome to that.
Yeah,
I think the game. It was a difficult environment to learn it in, I would just say. So I'm not giving a review of the game at all.
Best experience.
But I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
But it was the last day, and between these 6 people, myself included, we had all played with each other a couple times during the week. But this was like that last, and it was so. It had to be Saturday night, but it was so much fun. We just spent. I want to say that game of Welcome to took us an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, because we were just hanging out and talking and. Reading the rule book together, and it was just a lot of fun. You could tell what I loved about it was these were people I didn't know going into it, and then at the end to have that game where we all played together, and you saw like how we had grown as a group and really gotten to know each other. It's like playing with your game group, within the 5 days. So I really like that experience because it shows like the relationships and stuff that can be formed at the retreat. So I really enjoyed that.
Including someone in the chat who was in that game.
I would like to point out that you're hearing a lot of retreat
Chat,
stuff.
yes.
Retreat registration will go live early next year.
Yes.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
No,
So Chrissy, back me up. That was a good game, right?
that's sweet.
Play.
She's crying.
All right, my number 4 is all the solitaire games I played this year.
I thought Mike was a solo gamer.
Yeah. Now, my number 4 is from the first retreat, and it is playing with Randy and Ellen. We got to sit down and play with them that Gartenbau game, or Gartenbau. They had an early copy. I guess they were doing some sort of preview or whatever for the Kickstarter. So it was nice to be able to sit down with those 2 who are awesome people. I rarely get to play with them, obviously. Sitting down with this game that wasn't out and not being the one teaching the game, just having, Randy, it was mostly Randy teaching the game. It felt like, again, and I think you discover this if you go to our retreats, that it feels like you're hanging out with someone in their house or something. It's many microcosms of that happening all around, and you can leave someone's domicile and move 3 tables, and you feel like you're in someone else's space. And that's really neat. And that one particularly stood out to me just as a very chill, fun get-together within this other fantastic, atmosphere. So yeah, Garden Bow with the Kirby's at the first retreat we had this year. That's my number 4.
Right, my number 4 involves some of my meanest gaming opponents, but very smart and a lot of fun. No, it's Ruby and Violet.
Yes.
And playing through Sleeping Gods. Sleeping Gods was a big chunk of this year, it feels like. I still remember that. And I played through we played through a good chunk of it here. I played with you, Chris, and Mike, maybe?
It's not memorable is the point.
Ruby and Violet. He loves his daughter.
I was going to be very clear. It was okay, that opening game. I was like, I don't know. I'll play some more and see. And then I went and had fun. No, but it was really good to go through the kids. It was definitely during a lot of downtime at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Before vaccinations were here, we still had that downtime. And Sleeping Gods was a great game for that period. Really, it was. I had the time to play it, and we just played it straight. I mean, we broke it up in 3 days, but it was like 5-6 hours a day.
That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah, it was really good.
Very impressive.
Someday, we're going to look back at 2020, 2021, we're like, I wish we had more time. Well, we did. I want less time, actually, now.
All right, my number 4 is actually from We'll Play It Live, Mike.
Oh,
but
nice.
it wasn't with you.
Reasonable. Fair enough.
It was actually unfathomable. So we played. Let's see, who was in it? I think it was.
I was in it.
Us
in it.
4.
He's so happy. I was there.
Anyways, Roy was in it too.
Yes,
so,
for sure.
I think what was fun, the actual game was okay. It was fun. I'm not a big Betrayer game fan, but it was super memorable because the way the game works is you deal out like cards to everybody and you see if you're the betrayer, and half the cards could have it, could not. We weren't sure if there was a betrayer or not. First round didn't seem like it. Second round we came in, everyone got their card to see if anyone, betrayer was added. And we found it like right then Tom was just like, bam, I'm the betrayer. And he like made Roy the betrayer. I don't know, it was just this huge thing of like this big moment that I was like, man,
I was very pleased. I never been betrayer before. I was very excited.
And you got dealt
True colors.
both of them.
I know.
Yeah.
All my cards were
And
coming
then
up.
he made
Betrayal.
sweet angelic Roy over here, the betrayer. It
I was working so hard to make the humans win.
It just was so
and then I just sunk the whole
painful.
ship.
It was great. It was a good moment.
Very good. My number 4, also actually with people at this table, including Z.
That's a shocker.
Wow.
Fire.
You're on
I was
fire.
in my game of
Come
Garden
on,
Bow
Z.
also.
Oh, wait, you weren't in mine.
So it was a game that no one here terribly liked. It was called Bonfire, the Stefan Feld game. And we're playing it, we're learning. I think that you were teaching it even. And
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you were teaching
it.
Yeah, that was a rough teach. That game's got a lot going on.
Can
It
confirm.
was a rough
yeah,
game.
it was, yeah. And we're just sitting there like, okay, what does this do when you match up the color of the angel with the color of the bonfire and the pathway spot? And we just started joking about, probably 2 points. We spent 5 minutes looking up that symbol in the rule book. 2 points! It became like the calling card catchphrase, and I'm sure that, people joke about that. Every Stefan Feld game, everything gives you 2 points. But in that moment, it was one of the earlier games that we played together. It was one of the earlier times that we really got to just kind of all laugh together. And for me, being kind of a new person, that was so great. Just being able to kind of laugh at this game together and just yell out 2 points every time we accomplished anything in it. So, I'm done being sentimental, and that's it.
Fantastic.
All right, my number 3 is one of my favorite games, cooperative games, a game that like kind of embodies like experiences in games. And that is I got to play Mansions of Madness with some friends at my house. I had them over to play Mansions of Madness, and we played it during the holiday season time, and it was just really enjoyable, like, because they were, like, new gamers who hadn't really played many board games at all. I invited them over to play Mansions of Madness, and we played a game, and they were like, we've never seen a game with, like, app stuff, and I was using the old Rascalers table that you had, that had, like, the speakers in it. I was actually playing Mansions of Madness through the speakers
That's
in
one
the
of the
table.
good. Did you turn the lights on too?
I turned the lights on and had the speakers
good
to Mansions of
news.
Madness. So, and we were doing the app thing, and it was like doing all the audio and everything from it. And they're like, "What? Board games can do this?" And I just really loved that game, and it was cool sharing that experience with people who weren't into board games really much at all. They had played like a little bit of this and that, but mostly just mass market stuff.
Yeah.
And I introduced them to Mansions of Madness, and it was a cooperative game, and we played through the first scenario of the game. It was just really fun and really enjoyable. And it's good to play like during that season, you know, during the Halloween time. I always like to bring that game out. So it was a really memorable experience playing that game of Mansions of Madness. So that's my number 3.
When you played Old Trey with us at your house, you didn't turn on the speakers.
You did
Well,
not, or the lights for that.
I could
matter.
like hook up a microphone and then like we could read out the cards and it speaks.
Oh, I
through
gotta
the-
say, I thought that those speakers and lights are really overkill. I can't think of many good uses, but Mansions of Madness would
That would
be
be it.
one of them.
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's a
it
good
was
call.
really cool to like actually pull it all together and make that happen.
You also didn't answer the door when I knocked.
Say that again.
Hello?
See, the robots are coming. Apps and games are getting carried away.
Phone messing up my joke. All right, my number 3 is playing for the first time one of those games that, especially here at the Dice Tower, is kind of well spoken of.
Mike, I'm apologizing. I'm interrupting you.
Oh my!
We don't often get a big super chat like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Thank you, Daniel Kramer, for all the very nice words
Wow.
there. Oh, and he also said happy birthday to Chris.
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
coming
much.
dinner,
that's
Daniel.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, now my number 3 is garbage.
Better have something to do.
My number 3 is playing Cosmic Encounter for the first time. That was a very, very memorable experience. You know, I had, you know, obviously I was aware of Cosmic Encounter, and coming into the Dice Tower, I knew how much it was, a Tom kind of special. And so being able to play that with this crew and having it to be such a memorable experience, and then turning that into a Catch-a-Palooza, I think it was like maybe the second one we had ever done, was very, very memorable.
Also, you had an incredible win in that.
I had a really ridiculous win that was like, yeah, it was like we didn't know it was a win, and then we're like, yeah, I guess you did win, type of a thing. So it kind of had everything. It was like a perfect storm. You know, I think so fondly of it. As crazy as it sounds, I'm not sure I ever want to play Cosmic Encounter again, because it was like I'd love to just kind of
You can retire on that game.
Yeah, I kind of want to keep that memory. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if it's going to get better than that. That was just such a great session all the way around. So that's my number 3 is Cosmic Encounter. That ridiculous session of that game.
All right, my number 3 is. I don't know, it's kind of personal. I guess it wasn't really about the players, but the experience specifically is this year I finally finished painting Project Elite completely. And so I was so excited because it was the first time I'd ever been able to play a game with everything painted, and it really does change the experience. Like, it was so much fun. We actually had a friend over who is not really into games. But I mean, and they even then commented like, "This is so cool," you know. I was like, "It doesn't come like this. It takes a lot of time." For me, I'm a slow
How much
painter,
time?
but a lot of
Got it,
time.
okay. Cool.
But yeah, but it was so much fun to have such a fully painted game. And so before, like while I was painting it, we would only use the ones that I'd painted. So just you kind of like always knew the bosses coming too, you know. But then your heroes weren't painted. So anyway, so just have a full surprise. Don't know what bosses are coming. Everyone's heroes painted. It was just a really neat experience. It really did change the experience.
Are you more gentle with the bad guys throwing them off the board once they're painted, or are you just still like, get out of here?
No, I'm not gentle. No.
That was a leading question.
Yeah, gentle Milla is not a thing.
It's not a thing, Roy. Have you not been paying attention? All right, my number 3 is something that I only Tom will have a reference to this, but this is at the Gathering, and it is specifically the game show that they ran at the Gathering.
Oh, wow.
That was a fantastic time.
We don't
And
we normally run game shows. We're not normally part of them.
Right, and so they were running, someone else who did an excellent job was running a game show. And Tom, and there were groups, you know, tables that were playing as groups. It was us 2, I know Tim was there.
Tim and Tom. It was Tom, Tim, and Z.
Yeah, and Tom, who is also a friend of Tom's. Friend of all of us, I guess. And it was just, we were just having a great time. They would ask a trivia question, we'd all kind of turn in and be like, what about this, what about that? And laughing. There was a lot of laughing in it. Trying to solve little puzzles and things like that. I just had a blast doing that.
That was a really good game show. I enjoyed it.
It was like instead of like sort of a head down activity or game, it was sort of like sitting back and listening and looking at and then talking. that was an excellent time. So I really enjoyed that. It stuck with me, and the people really helped as well, because those two guys are great, and we were all just having a good time together. So that's my number 3 game show at the Gathering.
We didn't win, but out of like 16 teams,
Okay.
we came in the top 6.
Yeah, we did okay.
Okay.
Fun.
Respectable.
All right. My number 3 is several games that I just kept playing over and over.
Oh, well, I'm going to add a few things.
No. Several games I kept playing over and over at both retreats. This happened. I started Magical Athlete, and we just kept rolling with it. So, Magical Athlete, if you played my edition of it, is ridiculous. It's full of nonsense, and the whole box is nonsense. And I try to trick as many unsuspecting people into playing it as I possibly can, because I like to go into great detail about how it's a roll and move game.
Yes.
As if it's a new thing. But every time I teach it, at every game, there was one person who starts moving their chair back, trying to wait for their phone to call so they can leave. And it was a blast every time. Halfway through, people were like, this is actually really fun. Like, yes, actually. But it was really great games. We were very disruptive, I think, to the tables around us, but we had a lot of fun playing Magical Athlete.
That's a good one.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, my number 3 is a very big game. It is Lisboa.
Oof.
So this is a game that's actually been
We were
on.
definitely not a night.
No.
There were no veggies there.
No,
I'll tell you.
it was Chris and one of our buddies, Vince, and it was one of those moments where I've wanted to play this game for so long, but it was Chris's first Lacerda game, and he was not a fan, and so I didn't think I was going to get to play it. And then we started reviewing them here, and I was like, sweet, I'm going to actually play this one. And we had met up with Vince, who comes to the game nights here, and we could never find a time to have like a 3 or 4 hour chunk to learn it, set it up, play it, all that jazz. And so it was the first time kind of setting up our own little game night with a friend that we met here. And thank goodness he was there, because I tried doing setup, and after like 10 minutes I gave up, and then he arrived and saved the day. It was wonderful. But I loved the game, and it was tons of fun.
Nice.
So good stuff.
Awful setup. No, there's just so much that I was like, no. I played this once 4 years ago. Someone else is teaching it.
Yeah.
All right. My number 3 is from the first Dice Tower retreat this year. I took a page out of Tom's playbook, and I wanted to play Tumbling Dice. Tumbling Dice is one of those big, it's almost like an heirloom woodwork piece that you set up on the table. You try to roll dice down it, and then whatever the die is showing on it, you multiply by the modifier of how far down you rolled it. It's a little stair step type thing. During the Spring Spectacular, you had a bunch of people. You said, everyone come up and play. And you handed out 8 bags of dice, and I was the 9th person. So you had me sit down. So anyway, at the retreat, I pulled it out and said, I'm going to play it the way that you
Wait,
did.
did that actually happen?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either. But that just made my number 2.
That's my number 1.
So I pulled it out of the retreat. I set it up on a table, and the way that you had it done was everyone gets just a whole bag of dice, a mess of dice, and you just walk in circles around the table. You roll it down, and you just keep walking around, and after this is the Tom Bassel special, so there's like...
I saw you doing that. I was like, I get that. I was very proud over in the corner.
That's me.
Well, I taught it a bunch of times because people kept wanting to come up and play it, and then we eventually packed up the game, and then 2 days later, people were still pulling out tumbling dice and doing it on their own.
Yes, we started a trend.
And I had that feeling of like, I did that.
No.
It was Tom, but I did that.
Yes.
So
It's
that's,
like a virus.
yeah.
You're spreading the walking around a table thing. I like it.
Yeah, people look like wackos, but I loved it. That was my number 3.
All right, my number 2. I feel like I might get a little bit of crap for this. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see.
Let's just assume you
Oh,
are.
I mean, you weren't, but now we're going to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is I did a ton of demoing of my
That's ridiculous. Oh, come on.
This is a number one.
I know. But I played this at the retreat because people kept asking me to play it over and over and over again. Even Tom was like, are you going to play anything else? And I'm like, people keep asking me to play. And then I did it at Board Game Geek Con. And this was the first time I've ever, I've demoed games before for publishers, but I've never, demoed my game for publishers. And just having that experience of people coming up and playing something that you've created, and, it was just really exciting, and, the reception was really cool. So it was really awesome to be able to share that with people and be able to play it. And I'm not going to gush about it too much because I feel like I'm shilling, but it was a really memorable experience for me, so that's why it's my number 2. So
Not your number 1, your number 2.
my number 2, 100%.
Because he's humble.
Was number 1 designing the game?
That didn't happen this year.
All right, well, my number 2 is somewhat related to Chris's number 3. It is the first retreat this year. Now, we had 2 Dice Tower retreats. Sign up for the next one soon. We had one in Miami first and then in Orlando, and they were both fantastic, but I had never been to a retreat before. So the first one was extra special because it was something new to me. Just as Z mentioned, it's a much more intimate experience. You really get to know the people there a whole lot better. There were a couple of kind of standout moments. The whole thing was great. But one was finally getting a chance to play Vindication and not having to learn it, being taught. Jeff, who does tabletop toolbox segments for us on Board Game Breakfast, had actually messaged me earlier in the year, maybe even last year, and said, hey, I know you've been wanting to play it. I know it. I love it. I'd love to teach you. Can we play it over Tabletop Simulator? And I said, sure, we could do that, or I could also take a 4-inch nail and drive it into my skull. I don't want the first exposure I have to a game, if I can help it, to be that. So we were able to work out. We played it at the retreat. It was a great experience. Also, being able to teach that game, Comic Hunters, that little Brazilian game that was sent to us, that there's probably hardly any copies in the United States, teaching that to 4 or 5 different groups. It was just a really good time. I really enjoyed it. And so that's my number 2.
I'm kind of lost in this word of the skull thing. You kind of lost me there.
Well, I do not like Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I agree.
It's just
That was a very strong word picture, and I'm
My number 2 was
I'm a wordsmith.
My number 2 was Mike's carpentry workshop. It's one of my favorite things this year.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, so mine is kind of a conglomerate. We talked a lot about the retreats, and so mine as well as the first retreat, which was in Miami, and this was my first retreat ever. And again, back to that intimacy, where you feel by the end that you're playing with friends, you're a new play group, right? And so I'm really excited to go back and see these people again. But yeah, so my number 2 is at the first retreat in Miami. Again, Project Elite. So Austin will talk about it, but Project Elite at Chris, you were in that game, 2:30 in the morning?
It was
very last day.
game.
And I was asked to teach, and I was like, all right, here we go. And so I taught it. Ellen was there. You mentioned Ellen.
Yeah.
Alex from our local game group, and a lady I'd never met before, Veronica. And so it's again, we had that intimacy of these new players, but not new players, but new
game was
people.
all messed up.
What are you talking?
It's messed up. I need to fix it.
Oh,
The piles. I opened it up. I was like, this is a mess.
it's a shocking display, honestly, is what I would call it. Shocking display.
I'm trying to think if I have a retort, but no, that very likely might be true. I'll find out later. It was 3:30 in the morning when we finished, but it was so much fun because again, we just felt like we were playing with a bunch of friends coming together to play this game for the first time. We were loud at the end, we were super loud. It came down to that last wire, the last 5 seconds of the last round, and we won, and we all cheered, and then the whole room actually cheered, probably because we were finally done being so loud.
Are you funny?
Yeah, but everyone cheered anyway. So it was just so much fun. It was just raucous, good ending to a very great first retreat that I attended. So, playing Project Elite at 3:30 in the morning, I recommend.
And nothing really heightens your enjoyment of a game than by not putting it away properly, I've always found.
Right? I mean,
That just adds to the experience.
Right, the
That's
ability
just a
to
little-
just throw it in the
just a
box
cream
and
on
be
top.
Cherry on the top.
figure it
We
out.
do that at every retreat. Be every spectacular.
Every
do.
sleep
Play,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Arnak is not put away properly. No question about it.
All right, my number 2 is similar to one you just had, Tom, a bit ago, and that is a Sleeping Gods session. I played at home, and Amanda and I played basically a weekend of it.
Yeah, that's
We
what I did.
left it set up, played Saturday and Sunday, maybe even Friday night before it, and it was hours each day where we could just play, take a break and have lunch, do whatever, go back to it. It kind of stayed up, and we kept coming back to it in pieces and chunks throughout the whole weekend, and finished it. So did a whole run, and that's maybe 11 hours or 9 hours or
about
something
right,
like that is
yeah.
what it took us. And it was fantastic. I mean, so immersive, so engaging. So it was a great time, and because it was a central single activity for almost the entirety of it, very memorable. So, yeah, Sleeping Gods, just shotgunning that thing through a whole weekend. That's my number 2.
My number 2 doesn't include anyone here.
All right.
Because mostly because Chris and Camilla were like going to bed at 4 in the morning. Mine is very specifically, and I love this so much. I'm going to call out Martin and Rod, who at both retreats and at Board Game Geek Con do my 6 o'clock gaming with me, where I
AMs?
yes. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's the same thing. It's just that you're doing it at the end, and I'm doing it at the beginning. But there's not a whole lot of difference. The main difference
It's
is
harder to throw
disagree.
all the components into a box willy-nilly at 6 in the morning.
true.
Yeah, you get caught.
No, but here, so I go down, and at the first retreat it was just Martin, the second retreat it was just Rod, and a couple other people would stagger in and come in, and it just, like, the world is very quiet at that point in time, and we're just playing a game in this big room by ourselves, wherever it is. And I just enjoyed it. We played some really horrible games, but we also played some really fun ones. It just, whatever that happened that day, but it was just a good time. I really liked that moment. I always tell people, if you want to play a game with me somewhere, come down early. And I'm always like, oh, I bet 30 people are going to show up. Never happens. It's like 2. But we had a great time.
Never will ask people to wake up early, Tom.
Even at like big conventions, BGG was like 1,500 people, and there was 2.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. My number 2 is actually the game Destinies. I played a lot with Roy and Chris. A whole lot.
Wait, did you guys just play that?
Well, okay, we've been
You're
playing
very
Destinies
recent on your
all
list.
year. No. We've been playing Destinies all year. Chris and I have been like working on all the expansions and everything as they come out. But this was the original box, like the base box. We were on the very last scenario, and it was super neck and neck. And I don't think I had won one of the games up to this point. Like, there's 5 or 6 scenarios, and it was like the very last one. And I just had some really incredible rolls. And last minute, I won, and I got my like big finish, like. Big storyline, and it was exciting because I finally won, and I was very happy.
I'm just glad you beat Chris because I still haven't beat him.
That's all that matters.
I still love the game. Still haven't beat him.
But I think Roy and I were like super neck and neck. Like you were almost there, and so it was super fun.
Yeah,
Good
it
memories.
was a great finale arc system.
Yeah.
My number 2 comes from, I think, one of the earliest games that I taught Camilla. When you
Did I like it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Did you put it away?
Fair.
Absolutely not.
I just
How
walked
many games in
away.
this library do I need to go sort out?
So the game was Tinner's Trail. It's a Martin Wallace. See. So I feel like every game that I've ever taught to Camilla for like review purposes, she hates. So Tom, you need to give me some better games apparently to review.
I'm going to look at a more common denominator there than the game. So are we not in agreement here?
Games we played for leisure, enjoyed.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
The
but no,
review ones, yeah.
Tinner's
I
Trail
react.
is an auction game by Martin Wallace. It's one of those Martin Wallace designs where he says, I want to do this. No one's going to stop me. I'm Martin Wallace. That's, I imagine, what he talks like.
Just like that.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of these motions going on.
I'm Martin Wallace. So anyway,
Not quite.
never met him. But the weird thing about it is, and we've both caught grief for saying that, like, this is like a serious cube-pushing, dry Euro auction game, and we both have to approach this with this, like, almost party game mentality in that you might get hosed with stuff, because you auction off things, you auction off tiles, but you don't look at them. The person who starts the auction looks at it. So Camilla looks at a piece of this parcel of land, puts it back, and starts the auction at like $6 or something. I was like, I'll buy it, 7. And she immediately just backs. I was like, you take it. It's the worst tile in the game. It's complete garbage. I mean, with this, I auctioned for this mine that's like already flooded in and stuff, and she's like pouring water cubes onto it. She's like, and she's like, I never do this in games. I'm so sorry. But she completely betrayed all of my trust, and we have not spoken since.
I wasn't actually sorry. I just said that because I didn't know you very well.
That sounds right. Checks out.
Now you know.
Yeah, it was.
Where's the best experience part of this? I'm missing this.
It's such a memorable moment.
Oh, okay.
It's such a fun, like, silly thing that I can always kind of look back on.
Right, I want to say, like, we stopped playing for, like, a solid, like, 2 minutes, and those of us there at the table and just laughed about it, and, you know, whatever. So, yeah,
It was great.
I enjoyed it.
All right, now we know how to get Chris to...
Yeah, all right. You like
Stab
it,
him,
I got it.
and he'll love you for it.
That's correct.
All right.
That's how I won him over.
Oh, it's like a line. I think it's like a line from The Gladiator.
Are you not stabbed? All right, go ahead.
All right, for my number one, I really enjoy playing games with my kids, and I've been playing games with them through all ages, and we've been playing a ton. And my son always wanted to play like bigger and bigger games or games that he saw me playing, and I always was like, "No, that has a lot of reading in it, or all those has like a lot of stuff that's going to be too difficult for you. You can't really play that yet. Like you're gonna have to wait a little while before you can play that." Because I always wanted them to play games like at their like pace, you know. Anyway,
Amen.
I eventually like. He was doing really good in school and like reading and stuff like that, and he really wanted to play Marvel Champions. And I actually started playing it with him, and like he was reading through the cards and understanding the stuff. And it was actually kind of a shock to me as a parent that he was actually picking it up as well as he was. Because I mean, it's my favorite game, and I wasn't trying to force this on him at all. He saw me playing it a lot, so I'm guessing that's why he really wanted to play. But we played several games of Marvel Champions this year, and he's really gotten into it. And he's just always asking to play it, even more than like I have time to teach and play it with him. And just seeing my son like grow into like playing these games that I'm really excited about and enjoying them just as much as I do, and being excited when new characters come out. Like I'll show him like a box set of it, and he's just like, "Oh, that has Spider-Man, and it's got like the Green Goblin and stuff like that in it." And like getting excited about stuff that I'm excited about too is pretty crazy. Chris said that like my kids are such nerds, and like I feel proud about that. but yeah, playing Marvel Champions with my son Scotty is my number one experience of this year. So
Nerd is
there
a
you go.
compliment. Around.
Yes.
Exactly,
Is it?
exactly.
Yeah, be quiet, nerd.
Oh, thank you.
All right. My top moment of this year, this was the first thing that came to mind, so this is why it's my number one. It's actually moving into this studio.
Oh, wow.
Is he in a different spot than we were?
that was
What?
traumatizing.
That was fun.
No, but here's the thing. Was it
It was not as bad as moving to the last studio.
Was it
so-
stressful? Well, yes, it was stressful. Was it a lot of work? It was a lot of work. But the feeling, I don't know, the designing the sets with Z, you know, kind of seeing the library right here, kind of being faced with a very large challenge and a very finite amount of time,
Yeah.
and coming together as a group and making it happen, and just the transformation of the place that we go to 5 days a week, you know, really in the course of a week.
It was really good, actually. We took, how long did we take off?
We took a
or
week,
two?
maybe, basically. I mean, we maybe a
a
little
week.
more than, yeah.
Just a week. Wow.
Yeah, it was,
That was a lot.
we really were hustling. I mean,
was it 2 weeks?
It may have been 2.
The audience might remember better, you know.
Yeah, well, it was good, though, because we were able to, we thought about everything.
Yeah,
Oh, for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this was an empty space, right? And then just being able to really start from a blank slate, a fresh spot, you know, really being very receptive to other people's ideas and kind of how we're going to set this up. Yeah, it was stressful and it was, you know, a lot of work, but the feeling at the end of it was a real feeling of accomplishment, you know what I mean? And now coming in and kind of being able to enjoy the fruits of our labor, so to speak. So, you know, this was clearly my number one. That was the first thing that came to my mind, was being here now, you know, and kind of the transformation of the space. So that's my number one.
That's good. I actually really like the
Very
studio.
good.
It's really
for sure.
good.
gotta shout
Yeah.
out.
I mean, this is the best
Okay.
workplace.
Me
too.
Like,
Yeah.
just not the people, but just the actual workplace.
Right.
This is the best workplace I've ever been in.
Awesome. All right, well, my number one is also the first thing I thought of, and it is just the Autumn Spectacular and that experience. Like, I'd never done anything like that. Like, I don't have camera experience or, you know, live streaming. I have gaming experience, but that's about all I brought to that. And it was just a lot of fun just to see, I think, how things work and how it's different playing live versus playing, you know, just a game as you're learning, that kind of stuff. So I just really enjoyed the Autumn Spectacular, getting to know the guys here, you know, and girl here. Sorry, the people here.
You're here too.
One of the guys. Right, and you know, just getting to know everybody, and you know, I think from that experience, you know, coming on to the Dice Tower, that kind of stuff. So yeah, super sentimental, but just that first Autumn Spectacular was a really, really eye-opening, neat, and memorable experience. So definitely my favorite of the year.
Good stuff. All right, my number one, I did not go sentimental on this at all. My number one was at the second retreat, the Orlando retreat, and it was playing Atlantis Rising, which I actually played a few times, and had a great time. You know, I always have a great time when that game comes out. But this was specifically with the Phelps and the Chapmans.
Always a good combo.
Yeah.
And we were just having such a funny time, laughing it up. Rod was talking about how his character was like, you know, a politician, so he was like running for office, and he was only sending his workers out if he got the votes, and we kept joking around with that. I think his thing was unflooding something. He could unflood something, but only if he got the votes. He was, you know, joking around with that. It was, again, familial. It was a tightly knit group, everybody being clearly very jovial. I love that kind of setting and that kind of experience for a game, and this one absolutely delivered. The game is fantastic, one of my favorites, and those people are all fantastic. So just had a great time. So Atlantis Rising at the Orlando retreat was perfection itself. That's my number one.
All right, back into sentimentality.
And I love the Chapmans.
And Z's stone cold heart.
Thanks, Grinch. No, they are fun to play with. Rod's made 2 lists now.
Yeah.
All right, mine is playing Quest Kids with Jimmy, my son. Such a great game. We had such a good time doing it. And I play a lot of games.
Yeah.
Like, last night, he was seriously watching my Ruby and Violet play Kamisato. They were playing it over again. He stood there for 20, 30 minutes watching him play it. And I was like, do you know what's going on? He said, no. And then he kept watching. I was like, well, one day he's just going to come in there like a chess master and do everything. But Quest Kids is such a simple game, going through a dungeon, flipping cards, helping people fight monsters. And it worked really well. We had a great time. And he kept asking me to play it over and over again, which is a nice change from the garbage that he gets given by his friends that he wants me to play. And we had a great time, but then he was teaching it to other people. And that was kind of cool. He's a terrible teacher. And it's a very, very strong-willed teacher. Don't know where that comes from. But it was just neat to see that being passed on a little bit. That may go away, right? I don't have a problem. Some of my kids love games, some don't. It's fine. But while they like games, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Very
Good
nice,
stuff.
for sure.
So my number one, it's kind of based around a sentimental idea, and the general idea is I feel welcome here. So moving in January for Chris's job, it was just a big change. Like, we haven't ever left family, we haven't ever moved, we haven't done this big thing of making new friends. And I think it was the first or the second game time that I came to game here. It was just one of those like, hey, we have a few games we have to get played to review. It wasn't anything official. And I played Sleeping Gods with Z and Mike.
Yep.
Ryan Lockett's having a great day.
And we were talking about memorable moments. There's some fun storylines, some fun stuff, but there's one particular storyline, and I'm trying to word this so it doesn't have any spoilers for anybody.
Yeah.
But there was just this moment where there was this animal that had lost something that was like super precious to it, and we had this big debate of, oh, you remember, see? Super precious, and we had this like, oh, are we gonna do this? We're gonna have to like fight some big animal or something like that to get it back, and we decided to do it. It was a good experience, and then as soon as we gave it this thing had been wanting so badly, it ate it. And from that moment on, we just kind of had that inside joke that day, and I felt like I was one of the crew. I felt like I was a part, and I felt super welcome. And so, in general, this whole year, I felt very welcomed, and I appreciate that.
It's awesome.
That's great. My number one, my favorite gaming time is usually just like the wind down at the end of a convention or something. You're exhausted, right?
Because it's 4 a.m.
Because it's 4 a.m. Because of all
happened
my blatant irresponsibility. But at the end of a convention, usually like kind of a wind down type thing. And at the end of the last retreat, we played a game called Hob and Goot.
Oh, yeah.
And it is a dry Euro game if you've ever seen one. You know, the resources are like coal and coffee and whatnot, but the coffees they're very red, and so I jokingly called it cranberries. We were saying like, I'm gonna buy stock in cranberries. Give me 3 in cranberry, please. And we just started kind of laughing. It was Z, Mike, and I, and Amanda. And usually we try not to play games together at a retreat or something because we want to be there to play with lots of other people. It was Sunday. It was the last day. Everyone was kind of winding down in their own group. And so Z said, "I'll teach you this one," and it was so fun. the game itself is
Did
very
make
fun.
number one. That's awesome.
Wow.
It is a very fun game, economic-y kind of stuff. But we just had so much laughter. After I called the coffee cranberries, everyone was giving me grief. Like, oh yeah, give me some of the cranberry. Give me some of the Crankoff. I'm going to buy 2 shares in Crankoff. And so we invented the whole Krankovsky brothers who founded this coffee company. And they wanted to donate all these coffee beans to the orphans so that they could be all hyped up. And, and I mean, seriously, the game is you're like, I'm donating some coal to the orphans. And we were just making fun of that. It was so...
Yeah.
It was so great, and it was such a fun little kind of wind down to, like, a lot of good work, but a lot of work, and it was such a great time, and yeah.
I like it.
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
like
good.
it.
Lot
That
of
was a good
balance there.
game.
Bob said he hopes we enjoyed the chocolate pineapples during the move.
Oh,
Thank
we
you.
did. We did.
Yes.
Mark says, and if you have some quick moments you want to shout out, and I will say that we had some moments that you all picked from our live streaming
Right.
that we will be playing at the very end of the
Right.
Winter Spectacular. Chris spent
Ooh.
days putting that together,
For sure.
and we already watched it. It's funny.
It's very good.
Someone said unboxing the massive collection. I completely forgot about that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was this year.
That was fun when we did that, and then it started raining.
Hold on.
And after Z had warned us, he was like, I think it might rain. We're like, nah, we're fine. So he's like, are you sure? We're like, yeah, it's good. And then it rained.
Don't listen to me.
I never got such a workout as throwing those
I
boxes
know, we're
as
like,
fast as we
oh
could.
no, it's really coming down. That was memorable.
It was.
It was good and bad, right? It's like a mix of both things, but definitely memorable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's my 6. Why
All right, well,
not?
my number 6 is right there. Great to see Camilla on the table this morning. Trogdor, my dog's name is Trogdor because I love Trogdor so much. And not everyone knows who Trogdor is, so...
What?
Yes, I know. Trogdor. It's like a shell.
Wait,
Great.
that's
Is that
number
your
6?
puppy?
Number 6
No.
is the fact that person just said that?
Yes, that Trogdor said, they're glad I was on the stream this morning. I love
It was a
dog
hard
just
year,
talked
Tom,
to her.
okay?
It was
It was a rough year.
That was your number
That's
6?
number
That was my number
6.
6. That somebody understands Trogdor and they're happy to see me. We had a connection. It happened. Number 6.
It was through the web. Through
Yeah.
the net. No, I mean, so much stuff that you guys talked about, like the sentimentality, when I got, the moving the studios, having this place, feeling welcome. I mean, all that was great. But Mike screaming like a maniac during the outdoor shoots and marbles where Tom was throwing unknown firecrackers onto
That
it.
was insane.
Was that this
Was
year?
that this year?
That
Yeah, it had
was
to be
this
this year
year.
because
That
Chris
was
was
this
here.
year.
Oh, that's right.
So we did it out.
Smokes.
We did that outside.
It was 350 degrees outside.
It was. Well, we did it outside because we didn't want to do fireworks inside, obviously.
I thought it was a great idea, but as it was getting as we were doing it, I'm like, why did I bring this up?
We had to put an umbrella over Roy's.
The MacBook was
computer
physically
overheating.
melting. Correct, yeah.
The fireworks, I wasn't actually. There were some leftovers that I had.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, you should see all the fireworks I bought this
Oh
weekend.
my.
Oh my goodness! Anytime I mention to Tom, oh, we should set something on fire, he's like, let me think about it. He always says yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
always.
that was-
Yeah, I do.
He always says
That was
yes.
an experience.
Alrighty, well, folks, thanks so much for joining in with us. We're going to be back in 35 minutes for the last block of today, where Z and I are challenged by actually, we're a cooperative, working with Ruby and Violet, to go through a dungeon as we flip coins.
Gonna lose.
To your Witcher.
And then we have a bunch of some more top 10 lists coming, including Camilla's first top 10 ever.
This afternoon.
That's Art and Oliver's top 10, and Chris does his top 10 quirky games. And also we'll end with why gaming is good with a whole bunch of guest stars. So you can see that then. But we're going to end this one now. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Roy Canning.
I'm Mike Delicio.
And I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Number 7 on the list.